to Broadish, hopefully live. We have an exciting show for us. I find, just a little, hello everyone. How are you all doing? How are the three of you doing? Good?
Good. Good.
I find it interesting that the four of us are 4 degrees of separation of Democrats. Like, we're all Democratic, but yet within our own ideologies and thinking, there's such disparity in our thoughts and where we are. And I find it astounding that if we actually had a Republican on here, how different the views would be.
I was just thinking, maybe I should invite some of my Indiana friends. I went to college in Indiana. They can bring their little conservative viewpoints and have Hollie and Dhaya go at them.
You know what? I used to live in Alabama and Georgia. I am fine with Republicans, but Trumpism, they don't believe in anything. They're just against stuff, and they think that men have to be masculine in the Proud Boys way, and they want to send immigrants back, and I don't know what they believe in. So Trumpism doesn't really have ideology, but I am fine with conservatives. When I lived in Massachusetts, Bill Weld was a Republican governor. Mitt Romney was a Republican governor. We had a Republican governor in California, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Republicans can do good things, but Trumpism doesn't have any ideology. That's what I'm opposed to.
Right, it's just a color of personality.
Exactly. I mean,
Amen.
But don't get me wrong. I kind of think that Bernie Sanders is a little bit cult of personality too.
Fair point. But I do think it's interesting, Felicia, that at first, how we were accused of having all the same point of view, but as we delve further and get into more topics that divide within our little group, then we get to see how there are 4 shades of liberalism or 4 shades of Democrat.
Yeah, you're always gonna, no one's gonna be like right there on the same nose as everybody else. But yeah, like I've grown up with Republicans, I've grown up with conservatives. I have no problem with republicanism. I have no problem with conservatism. It's like Trumpism is not about gaining anything. It's all merely about exclusion and violence. So that's why when I look at Trumpism, I just see a bunch of dum-dums. In Dhaya's words, dum-dums.
Thank you. I love it. Please use it. Please use it.
We're 4 shades of democracy. We're more exciting than 50 Shades of Gray.
Word.
Can we say we're 4 shades of blue?
4 shades of blue.
Oh,
great tagline.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it should have been our title.
That should have been our title.
Yeah. So anyway, I figured out we're being shared to Felicia Madison's Facebook page. I shared it to Broadish. So if you guys want to go there and share it to your page for some reason, there was a screw up. Freak you, Facebook.
Oh my God, you're such a mom. You say
no, I curse, but I don't know if we want to do this. So anyway, we're gonna get started, guys. We're gonna start with our first topic: the demonization of Black Lives Matter. So let's go for it. Hollie, we'll give you the start.
Oh God, look at me, take it away. I was trying to share it. Like I'm trying to share it, but like there I go. Well, okay, so the election came and gone, even though a lot of Republicans refused to accept it. Came and gone, guys. Came and gone. It's crazy. It's been like the craziest 2 weeks and 12 years of our lives. But no, the demonization of Black Lives Matter is so real. Like, it is so real. It's really funny how Black Lives Matter came about as something, these 3 women, as a response to the Trayvon Martin verdict, that trial. And it was off a Facebook post just talking about, like, when can Black Lives Matter? And so that's where it came from. And so it's really about systemically dealing with the police, and especially the justice system, and especially dealing with police, that they're not playing judge and jury on the street, and that no matter what happens in confrontations with Black people on the street, traffic stop, whatever, traffic stop on down to a chase, that, look at that bruise, that's terrible, that our Black lives always matter. And from what I've seen, the support for Black Lives Matter came hardcore right on the heels of George Floyd. But then Republicans found a way to just be like, they're anti-family, they're anti-Bible, they're anti-structure, they're anti. Like, I even see like Latinos for Trump, where there was this one conservative Miami radio host, Corrines Moncada. Basically, Black Lives Matter practices witchcraft. Really? witchcraft girl, okay, and devil worship, and wants to burn down your property and kill police officers. It's like, why don't you say they're going to eat your babies too? Just say it, because that's right after. They want to eat your babies too. And so we all know, I could go on and on, but somebody posted a very interesting newspaper clipping from right before Dr. King was shot. And they demonized Martin Luther King the same exact way. It was about his marches and saying all they did was brought violence. And there was a cartoon of a man being interviewed on the street by a reporter talking about King, and then the whole street was torn down behind him. And so any kind of movement that's going to affirm the lives of Black people, whether it's Black Lives Matter, I Am a Man, going all the way back to anti-lynching, they're going to find a way to demonize it, and they always do. And so I just want to draw attention to that. And I feel like if people really want to know what Black Lives Matter is, then go to their website, talk to some people. Don't believe hearsay.
I think that's a really interesting analogy, because what they said about Martin Luther King was he's a communist. His phones were tapped. There was, COINTELPRO. There was like surveillance around this human being who was literally a reverend and was preaching in a church and was very pro Jesus Christ and was trying to do everything in the movement through a perspective of morality. What's interesting is Black Lives Matter, when Patrisse Cullors and Alicia Garza and Opal Tometi and everyone started they said, we don't want to have a centralized organization. We want this movement to belong to the people. So it's kind of like, you know how like the Catholic Church can say, here's what we believe for 2020. Oh, we were wrong about that. We're issuing an edict. Black Lives Matter is not centralized, so they can't just come out and say, here's what Black Lives Matter believes, because it's all different cities, all different communities, and it's very grassroots. So controlling the message is hard, but at the same time, because it's grassroots, people can get involved in different ways.
Yeah, also it's not just Black Lives Matter, but people or movements that have stood for change from the old guard does get vilified. Aung San Suu Kyi gets home arrest, Gandhi gets jailed. So I think there are just a faction of people who are going to resist the world moving in a direction that they're not happy with and create crazy stories. I mean, there are also people who believe that Hillary Clinton eats babies and baby blood.
Like, no, you're right. They really, truly do. Like, that's not even a joke. Like, they think she's having it with some sriracha or something, some baby cheesesteaks. I don't know, but seriously, they really, like, they put that out there.
Oh my God.
You know what? I feel so bad because sometimes when I do see cute, chubby babies, I just say, oh, I just want to eat you up, or I want to just bite your rolls. Now they're going to think I'm QAnon.
No, but you know, I did it to my little nephew, and he was like 2. I was like, I could just eat you up. He looked at me like, woman, like, and it was weird because I could see what he was really thinking, and I heard myself. I was like, yeah, that doesn't sound too good.
But when I see babies, I do say that. I say, I want to eat your rolls. And they can't even talk back. So their parents are like, and then I have to say, no, I'm not. I don't eat meat. I'm vegetarian. I'm not really going to eat your child.
Like, you actually have to add that in. By the way, I'm a vegetarian.
Remember in Indiana Jones, there was a scene where there were Indian people eating monkey brains. I think that movie makes people think that Indians will eat anything. So I got to put it out there. We only eat things that are spicy. Monkey brains have no spice. We don't eat that.
You got to add some sriracha to that, and then Indians will eat it.
Thank you. Yes, I need some flavor.
But Chinese people do eat monkey brains, so you can accuse
I'm
them.
sorry. I didn't mean to bring that up.
But you're right. Like, Jocelyn, like, anytime people are going to go into a movement that starts to become popular and really break ground, they're going to say you're a murderer, or you're gay, or you're demonic, or you're breaking down the family, you're like, they're going to say something. There's going to be some demonizing thing they're going to say, because Black Lives Matter was really embraced. Like, it's crazy. I was coming off the Brooklyn Bridge and I saw this big billboard, and it was like Nike. And to see Nike saying like Black Lives Matter, I was like, I didn't think I would ever see that.
Wow.
So yeah, they got to find a way to tear that down.
That's very interesting. You're right. After George Floyd, there were a lot of positive feelings, but Pew Research reported in September that support for Black Lives Matter dropped from 67% in June to 55%, and only 45% of white people express support for the movement. So a majority of black people still support it, but the support has been declining, which is interesting because you're right. Corporations were embracing it. It was worldwide, people in Nigeria and Sweden and globally. And then the numbers started going down. And I'm curious to know what exactly makes them think we don't support the movement anymore.
I wonder if it's when the protests got violent, not necessarily from the fault of the BLM protesters. A lot of the Proud Boys ilk were the ones creating the unrest, but maybe people didn't know who was to blame for the unrest, the looting that was going on. I think there's a lot of perception too, that this is now inciting violence or riots in the country. That's my suspicion for why the support would go down.
I think you're right, Jocelyn. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I've seen no less than, well, to be honest, totally honest, 4 that I could count on just right off the top of my head of videos, reports of undercover white police officers infiltrating these protests and like with a brick, or throwing it into a building or destroying property and then getting the ball rolling. And then look how horrible these people are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are kids who just piggyback on this crap and use it to loot. Like protesters are protesters and looters, and they are not the same. So there have been people who have been using, Black Lives Matter's protests to jump in and just do some ill behavior.
Right. And you know what? That's interesting because there's still issues happening. Like there were 1,000 instances in 47 states where civilians and journalists were harmed by the police in the last 5 months. And so the numbers are still there. If you're a journalist, if you're a civilian, if you're minding your own business, there's still these hard facts about police acting in a way that's not about protecting the public interest. It's acting in a paramilitary way. So the statistics are all there. It's just that human beings' support has changed. And I think, again, it's because the other side, conservatism, republicanism, Trumpism, whatever you want to call it, they're so much better at messaging and words than we are. We're not good at that stuff.
Right. So although this is pretty good. Black Lives Matter is a pretty...
Yeah, like it says it all.
Got it right.
So funny. It's so funny because I've seen white people say things on the news, things like when they interview people like, I believe that Black Lives Matter, but I don't believe in Black Lives Matter. And they're like, why? Why? Because they're violent and they're this. And it's like, oh, so they're violent at the hands of looters that piggyback on and people that infiltrate to try to cause harm. White supremacist people following people try to cause harm and make the movement look bad. But I've seen a lot of police officers that have protected them because, like I've said a million times, I don't believe all police officers are bad. I don't believe that at all. But I've also seen some police officers come straight up aggressive and not aggressive, and they don't do that to the Proud Boys, who are armed, storming Capitol. So I think it's really interesting to see that you see white militias armed coming, showing up like bullies because they don't want to wear masks, or because or these people who want, I've heard more disparaging things about Black Lives Matter than the white people that tried to kidnap and kill Gretchen Whitmer. What is that about? You know what I mean? So to see people they're just with the organization, but it's the saying of it. So it's like, if you sit there and say, no, I don't like that group, it's because somebody got in your ear and they told you this, that, and
well, it's funny because I've heard the opposite. I've heard that people didn't want to give to Black Lives Matter for a lot of reasons in the past, which we could get into another time. But when the George Floyd thing happened, people put aside all of their feelings, all of their, hesitation about it. And they raised so much money because people were like, you know what, enough's enough. And I'm putting aside all of my feelings because this is horrible. And it had a big influx. Now, what I'm interested to see is they've raised a shit ton of money. And I'm curious to see what they do with it and how going forward they use this momentum so it doesn't continue to die out, like Dhaya was saying, because we don't want this to be, I hope this doesn't sound crash, like a one-hit wonder. I want it to, if something horrible happened, everyone got behind it. Now we got to keep the momentum and see what they do with it and how we make lasting change so this doesn't happen again.
By the way, I love how we started the episode by saying, we're so different between the four of us. We're so different. What the viewers didn't see was there was a whole in the heated debate behind the scenes, and y'all didn't see that shit. But I think that's why we're so agreeable right this minute.
Well, I can't speak for other people. I can't speak for other people. But when I really agree with you, I really agree with you. And when I disagree with you, I really disagree.
Yeah, I think that's the
so
same.
I agree. I'm going to be like, that's right. But if not, I'm going to be like,
it's important to keep the conversation open and to listen to people. And that's sort of why we created the show, so that people aren't like, you know what? I'm not listening to that. And someone once said to me that you can never change the opinion of someone that's with a radical point of view. It's kind of like talk to the wall. And I always find that, I might have, I keep an open, I try to keep an open mind and listen to both sides so that we can learn.
Yeah, some people get their news fix from late night TV. I get my current affairs fixed from this show. So it's quite
I know, because of this show. Well, because of this show, I was like, damn, now I gotta watch Queen's Gambit because Felicia likes that show. I was like, shit, now I gotta watch this and be up on another show. I was all ready to watch Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and here it comes Felicia talking about some goddamn Queen's Gambit. I was like, damn it. Now I gotta go on to this. It's a good show, though.
We're gonna move on to a lighter topic here, guys.
Okay.
Very sad news. I don't know if any of you guys are Jeopardy fans, but Alex Trebek passed away after suffering from cancer for not that long, actually. And we're looking for a replacement. So what do you guys think?
Well, I want to jump in here and say this is going to sound super nerdy of me, but I really felt sad when Alex Trebek died. I don't know if you saw the video. There was an Indian man on the show and he was choking up and he said, "Alex, I just wanted to thank you because I would sit on my grandfather's lap and watch Jeopardy, and that's how I learned to speak English." Oh, wow. And he literally did a namaste to Alex Trebek. I don't know if y'all know this, but just like Mexican pizza on Taco Bell menu, Indians love Alex Trebek. There's
I did not know this.
There's something about Alex Trebek that is very we love him so much.
I worship Alex Trebek and Durga Ma.
Yeah, you know what? Alex Trebek could be one of our many gods because he's like the god of wisdom or something. But Alex Trebek is beloved in so many immigrant communities. He really brought this class and style, and there's been so many people of color and immigrants on the show that he really and I don't know if you've heard him there was a whole hip hop category and he really got into it. So he's someone who's kind of like a cultural ambassador for all nerds, no matter what color, what creed, what race, ethnicity. So I felt very sad when he passed away.
He inspires me because he did his job until 10 days before his death at 80 years old. Someone can be so passionate about their work that even though he clearly did not need the money, he was still going at it. I mean, would y'all still continue being a comedian at 80 if you already have the money? For me, if I have the money at 80, I'm retiring on a beach in Portugal with my 40-year-old pool boy.
I think Jocelyn will doing that exactly. I think she will be with that pool boy. Now, I just always looked at Alex to me, he was elegance and he was intelligence. Do you know what I mean? He was so classy. He was just a classy man. And when people would get things wrong, sometimes they would look really stupid. And he was just kind of no. You knew inside his brain, he was like, what is going on? But he was just I'm sorry, that was not it.
He epitomized the American dream. You work hard, you study hard, and you can obtain anything.
Hollie, the next time you disagree with one of my points, I'd like to see you do an Alex Trebek. Sorry. That was not it.
Instead of my whole mouth, because I could be giving my whole mouth in emails. I just...
we need a gong.
all the like Chuck Barris and the Gong Show, just a.
So
No,
who do you think's going to replace him?
Well, they've been talking about LeVar Burton. LeVar. See, here we go again. LeVar, thank you. They've been talking about LeVar. I'm just kidding. They're talking about LeVar. Talk about LeVar Burton. And I just think that's amazing because LeVar Burton, I think he could do it. I think he could do a really good job. I mean, I'm open to other people, but you know, what a career. You know what I mean? Like started off in Roots. Then what was it? I'm gonna offend Trekkies. Which one was it? Which one of the
Star Trek? Oh my gosh!
I know, but I didn't know if it was Deep Space Nine. Girl, I don't know all that. Like when I see sci-fi,
Hollie,
it's like, what's that on his head? Like,
Hollie has offended my culture of nerds. Hollie, this is insensitive to the nerd demographic. You have to know the difference.
I'm so sorry.
Nerd lives matter.
Nerd lives matter.
But yeah, like that, reading Rainbow, like this man has just done all these amazing, wonderful things. And if he ended up on Jeopardy, I'd just be like, wow, like really?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? So my mom, my mom and dad watch Jeopardy all the time, and I told her that there was a petition to get LeVar Burton on Jeopardy, and she's like, absolutely, I'm going to sign it like 5 times because I don't want Ken Jennings to take that spot. Apparently, like people have very strong opinions about Ken Jennings or like the other people that were in line to take, but LeVar Burton is really interesting because he was like cussing on Twitter like during the election. He's passionate. Also, there's like not that many he's another nerd. He's like at the same nerd level of because he was doing like Reading Rainbow and he's a great actor. He was Geordi on Star Trek and he was the first disabled person in space, I guess. And he had a visor and his best friend was Data, the robot, which is perfect for nerds because we love to have our best friend have no emotions. Why not a woman? I would love a woman to be the host of Jeopardy because when you look at the game shows out there, there are very few women like Family
They're
Feud.
just the ones that turn the placard or something.
Exactly. They're always like the pretty face.
Carry a suitcase or, you know.
I would love to see a nerdy
That's my job.
Yeah.
I vote for Dhaya. I think she'd be a perfect host of Jeopardy.
Dhaya, you would be good. You would be good. But you just have to, when people get wrong, you just have to stifle a smile and be like, I'm sorry. That was not it.
Okay, so I did host a game show on PBS for 17 episodes. That was my first TV gig ever. And and it was all for high school students, so it was not like adults, it was like kids. They were all taller than me, first of all, so they had to build me a ramp so I could be eye level with them. And I would ask them about their hobbies, and like some of them would be like, I write Klingon operas, and another one would be like, I really like math, and so I would I would have to encourage them because I didn't want to make fun of them. But sometimes the answers were so nerdy that I wouldn't even know what to say. And then one of them sent me an email afterwards and said, "Hey, I don't have a date to prom. Will you come with me?" And I was like, you know what? That's not appropriate.
Yeah, I wonder what your mom is going to do. Will she petition for LeVar, or is you up for grabs? Will she be like, oh shit, LeVar?
She's like, I don't know.
No, she would support me. She'd be like, you can do it. But then she'd be texting me during the show being like, that you should have told that guy that this and this. They would be giving me coaching.
we need like the voice for Jeopardy. We need to get everyone up and have like a competition and see who wins, and that person can be.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
By the way, Dhaya, since you're such a Trekkie, I would be interested to know that I did a show with William Shatner before.
Tell me. Oh my God.
Look at Dhaya right now. She's like,
her face. So
tell me everything.
oh my God.
it was. Do you know Life at Gotham?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so he was the host for my Life at Gotham. So we hung out with him backstage. He didn't bring me out with a handshake. And you know how we're so used to being brought out a handshake? I get on stage, I automatically just reach my hand out to William Shatner.
Yeah.
But his arms were extended. I was like, oh shit, he wants to give me a hug? And so I was like, okay, so I grabbed his one hand because my hand was already going out there. I mean, this is live TV. I got flustered. Took one hand and shook one hand. And then because I saw his one arm was still extended into a hug, so I extended my other hand. And so I gave him like a handshake and a bro hug at the same time.
That's so sweet. That's adorable.
I have no experience with William Shatner, but I did write for a game show. I wrote for TV's Ultimate Fan a long time ago, and Chuck Woolery was the host. What a freaking...
He's a weirdo.
Ooh, he was not a nice person. I remember just being like, holy crap, like Chuck Woolery's a dick. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know this, but it was a really interesting experience. Because after that, I wrote for Historyland, had like a game show, and that just wasn't as fun. Like, it was just like history. Everyone was like...
We're going to move on to a topic that's relevant to us, which is actually really surprising given what's going on in the world. 2 million women have left the workforce. It seems like COVID has had a bigger impact on women, and not surprisingly, we are the ones expected to go home and take care of the kids. And the fact that we are also in the service industry more than men, our jobs were lost first, and really sad. And they're saying it's going to take a really long time for the world to recover from that. Just bad news.
It is. And let me tell you something. I saw something earlier. Was it like a few days ago where they were talking about, it was a story of his couple, a family, where the husband was laid off. Basically, they were both home. And no, she was still working, and he was working from home. She was working outside the home. He was working from home. But because he was working from home and dealing with the kids, he said he had 2 days of it. And then he's like, I can't take it. So then she had to leave her job and be home with the kids I was like, so now their income is cut in half because he couldn't take care. I was like thinking to myself, wow. I mean, what moms go through, like when you're a stay-at-home mom, that is real. Oh. And I've been a stay-at-home mom, a work-from-home mom. That is so real. And I just kept thinking to myself, after 2 days, he couldn't take it. And I'm laughing because I was like, wow, usually I give a lot of dads about 2-3 hours. You know what I mean?
2 days, 2 days is impressive.
2-3 hours. If they're under five, I give it like 2-3 hours. And they're like, a woman needs to come over here right now. But yeah, so I just think that's really sad. So many women are having to leave.
I know this one guy who is a partner at one of the top law firms, extremely demanding job. His wife is a stay-at-home mom, and I asked him, who do you think has the harder job? He goes, oh my God, her for sure, by far. It was like way harder being a stay-at-home parent than being a full-time partner at a big law firm with clients breathing down your neck 24/7.
Yeah, because you're dealing with adults. You're dealing with adults. You're not dealing with, I mean, like little kids, man. When you're home with babies, Felicia, you can't even go to the bathroom with the door shut. You know what I mean? Like you shut the door, to be knocking on, mama, sliding notes under the door. Where are you? Right here. Right here. You just put a note.
I don't think it's the hardest job in the world. I do a little bit on this.
Felicia, you have 2 nannies and a
housekeeper. I will say it's the most thankless job in the world, maybe.
Yes. Because you don't get
appreciated. We don't get paid. We don't get vacation time. We don't, all we get is, I say after like 25 years of busting my chops, I'm fired. That's it. Bye-bye. See you later.
I have a question about this demographic shift. So Felicia, you said that service industry jobs are disappearing and women are in them, but also women are quitting their jobs to be at home to run the household. Are those jobs being just filled by men, or are they holding those jobs open for women, or like what's happening in the workforce that like if women, I mean, it's like when you take maternity leave, you still have a job to come to, right? But it's just leaving a permanent hole in the workforce?
It's a good question. I know there were 3 things. I can't remember all 3, but the first thing that happened was that they were in the service industry, as you could tell from this picture. They left. And then I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that women more than men are staying home. So that would be a good thing. I'll research that while you guys talk amongst yourselves.
I also feel really bad for the single moms, because imagine like, having joint custody, but also like being at home, having to go, you can't just be like, okay, well, I'll take the kid after I come home from work, because they're being, all public schools in New York just shut down, by the way, because New York reached 3%. All public schools shut down. So imagine a single mom who has to be with the kid at home and do the work. Like, that seems that the stimulus package needs to take care of people like that.
Yeah, the only reason they had blended learning, I think, is just so parents could go to work, because kids are literally going into school, sitting in an auditorium or a classroom, and they're just sitting there for 6 hours with a laptop with the mask on, and they take that mask off for a half an hour to eat. They're not even getting instruction from teachers, a lot of these kids. I'm not saying it's in every situation, but a lot of situations they're not even getting any kind of instruction. It's all just email instruction, watching videos and doing work. And so we were like, well, we could just do that from here.
Right.
Like, we might as well.
The plight of single moms is a topic that gets me very pissed off. So there's a famous actress in Singapore. She married another not as famous actor in Singapore, but he was very young and very cute. And they were married and they had kids, and then they divorced. And of course, she ends up with the childcare. He actually lives in a different country, so he comes over maybe once every few months to visit the kids. She has to raise 2 kids financially too. According to the article, he wasn't even helping her out much financially. And so now she's 40 something years old, can't date because she has to get a full-time job to support herself and her children, has to manage the childcare. And what is this guy doing? Canoodling around with a Miss Universe 20 years younger than him. I get so fucking pissed off at the injustice of it.
Of course he is. Of course he
is, right?
That's why I support Jocelyn to date all the younger men.
That's right. I'm doing it for all women.
You should. This whole thing was just so Jocelyn could date young men. She was like, I was outraged. Vote for Jocelyn dates young men. I was outraged. Vote for Jocelyn dates young men.
I support you. Get it, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. I need to start a Cougars Club.
So let me tell you, like, yeah, the bulk, like, usually in divorce, a lot of times it's the women who end up like with the kids, and it's crazy because I've always thought to myself, oh, that's just what happens. But I know like 3 couples that really did split that childcare right down the middle. I mean, one couple, they used to live in our building together. They got divorced. He moves across the street, and the kid has a bedroom and on both sides of the street. Like, they worked that out. Like, 4 days, 1 week, 3 days, and they just switch. And so that's awesome. Like, that's what you want. But yeah, women are getting the short end of the stick on this. Like, they really are.
Felicia, I used to think that at least rich women who got a divorce would have the benefit of having all that money, right? But when I was talking to you in the Hamptons, you told me there were women who got sent to the cleaners by their fucking husbands, moved back with their moms. How does that even happen? Doesn't the law let her take 50%? Did he hide it somewhere in Barbados?
Maybe I'll do a little undercover investigation and I'll get divorced just to see what happens.
No, Felicia, don't do that. Don't do it for the show. Keep your relationship.
Girl,
do it for the material, though. You'll get great.
I think it just goes to show you that women in general, I mean, we still are like still a minority also everywhere. I mean, I find it horrifying what happens to women around the world still in terms of, people being abducted into slavery, not slavery, but like sex trafficking.
It is slavery, yeah.
That is slavery, yeah.
Yeah, and way other people, what the genital mutilation that still goes on and how women still don't have rights and we have
child marriage.
We have a long way to go and just
are people still burning wives in India if their husband dies? Does that still happen in certain rural villages?
So what's interesting is there's 3 things that's happening in India. One is called because India doesn't have these abortion restrictions that like Christian countries have. Like, you can get an abortion in India, but and this is why like pro-life, pro-choice is like very difficult to like just support one outright. In India, women will get pregnant, they'll get an ultrasound, see that it's a girl, and immediately go and abort it. Oh, wow. And so what that's doing is it's causing the population to skew. So there's more, young boys and men, and then because the ratio is skewed, they are angry because they can't find a wife. So then you see all this violence against women because they're like the Proud Boys. They're so angry that the ratio is skewed. These women won't date them because they're raised by parents who actually wanted them and giving them opportunities to be educated and smart. And these guys are just hanging out in the rural village doing nothing. And so they're taking their aggression out. And then, so that's the first thing. The second thing is called female infanticide. Sometimes they don't have access to the ultrasound or whatever. They have the baby, they see it's a girl baby, they'll burn it, they'll kill it, they'll, do something horrible to the baby. And then the last thing that happens is a girl child is considered bad for income. So they'll try to get the child married off when they're 17 and the husband is like 40, and then they end up in an abusive situation. So all of this is because the value of a girl's life is not respected in India. So that translates from birth all the way to marriage. And if her husband dies in some parts of India, you're a widow, and that means you have no place in society because you don't have a husband.
Well, I will say I do agree with the fact that being a woman is not good financially, because my girls are much more expensive than my boys. Women spend a shit ton of money. So, okay, we're going to move on to our last topic. That was getting a little deep, so we'll end it with something a little bit happy. Let's give it up, guys, for Dolly-Parton. She gave a ton of money. I think it was like $1 million to help with the vaccine and coming up with a cure. So good news, right? Good news from our community.
I love Dolly-Parton. I have always loved Dolly-Parton. It's funny because, when you're a little kid, to me, she was just that lady with the big boobs. Like, she was that lady with the big boobs, you know what I mean? But I grew, older and learned to love her music. But I'll never forget, I had a renewed love for Dolly-Parton. I was in the library with my daughter. She was 2. And they're like, here, why don't you sign up for this Dolly-Parton book club? And I was like, what is this? Like, we don't need this. We can buy the books or just check out books. And they're like, no, it's wonderful for kids. Dolly-Parton book club, you get a free book from Dolly-Parton every month. And she's been doing this for years. We got years of free books. Like Dolly-Parton is a wonderful woman. She's just a wonderful person.
She said that, people always ask her why she didn't have any kids, and she felt like she could be a parent or a mother to all the kids.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And that's why she started this book club to help all the children. It's amazing. You're impressed with her big boobs. I'm impressed with her tiny waist.
You're impressed with her. I'm impressed with her big heart.
Oh, sweet. I think that's great. If she wants to have big boobs, let her have big boobs. Like, that's her body, her choice. But great. I also like that she came back to our first topic. She openly supports Black Lives Matter. Someone asked her, what do you think about Black Lives Matter? And she said something funny like, do you think it's only our white asses that matter in the world?
I love that.
She was so funny and engaging. And also, I love the story because she basically met this physician and surgeon at Vanderbilt after her car accident, who's a Lebanese guy, and they developed a friendship. Like, they're both in their 70s. They became friends. She started learning about science, and then she made this big contribution. So I think that even in the age of 70-something, she's a lifelong learner and always is wanting to learn about science and culture. And she's not like, how people say, oh, that person is an old white person, so they can't be expected to know better. I'm like, Dolly-Parton is an old white person. She knows everything. So
I don't know the old white people.
Exactly.
It depends on who you are. It depends on who you are as a person. I mean, Dolly-Parton, she's I look at Miley Cyrus, I get so jealous. She has Dolly-Parton as a godmother. And I'm always that's Miley Cyrus's godmother. Like, Dolly-Parton made me like Miley Cyrus. That's how much I love Dolly-Parton. And I like Miley Cyrus too. But I remember when Miley Cyrus first came out, I was like, I'm not feeling this little girl. I'm not feeling this little girl at all. Go back to Hannah Montana. And then I started reading about how she's her godmother and was, mentoring her. And I was like, all right, well, maybe Miley's okay. That's how much I love Dolly.
By the way, so the internet has been really praising Dolly-Parton for donating $1 million to COVID vaccine research, but her net worth is allegedly $600 million. So is there a point where it's actually the percentage of a person's amount of net worth that they donate that tilts them into a saint status, meaning she donated 0.16% of her net worth? Like, what happened? I donated 10% of my net worth to COVID vaccine research. $2, okay?
Hey.
Well, it's an interesting point of the percentage of our net worth, and also to like how much these people make, and is it really how much they should be making when teachers and nurses and all that like are making very little.
They should be paid more.
Socialism, go socialism.
They should be paid more. But my favorite thing about the Dolly-Parton and this whole vaccine was some meme, and they're like, vaccine, 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 vaccine. You know, from Jolene.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
vaccine.
great.
Like, I loved it. I was like, vaccine.
Sing it again, Holly. Sing it again.
No, I can't. I got off tune in the end. I got off tune in the end.
Well, hello, Dolly. Good news.
Oh, just age and Hollie's name turns her into Dolly.
Yeah.
Oh, Hollie Parton.
Hollie
Yes,
Parton.
I like it.
I'd be like,
Well, thank you guys. You know what?
Hollie Parton.
If you guys are watching and in the comments, you know, we've been doing these Facebook Lives. We've been usually just posting them to YouTube. So we'd like to hear from you guys if you have any suggestions or thoughts. If you like it live, if you'd rather us be on YouTube, be sure to comment and here or on YouTube. And thank you once again for joining us on Broadish. I'm Felicia Madison.
Dolly-Parton, that's my girl. I'm Hollie Harper.
Jocelyn Chia.
Dhaya Lakshminarayanan.
And we are Broadish.